Theater in beautiful downtown Madison, Wisconsin. We're here on the Drury stage, and we're going to give you a sneak peek of what goes on behind the scenes before the curtain opens on Madison Savoyards productions of Patience, or Bunthorne's Bride. And I'm here with my wonderful set designer, and I want to introduce you right now because he's the man that making all this stuff happen over here, which is absolutely fabulous. So let's welcome Dylan Sheehan. Dylan, thanks for coming today.
It's lovely to be here, and thank you, Michael, for having me on.
It's absolutely my pleasure. So Dylan, for maybe some of the folks that don't know you, because you're kind of new to the Madison scene, tell us a little bit about your background and how you got to Madison.
Yeah, I grew up right outside of Boston, Massachusetts, did a lot of theater in high school, and then I ended up going to school in Tennessee, where I met a couple of theater friends there. I did not intend to major in theater production in college, but one of my mentor in design, he suggested I take a design course freshman year. I took it, I really liked it, jumped right in on that, and then a couple of friends from college moved out to Madison to work at Epic. They wanted to produce some of their own stuff at the Bartell. I was working in Florida as a carpenter at a theater and wanted just a change. I was a little not a fan of contract to contract, moving around the country. I wanted to settle down. I'd heard so many great things about Madison, and we put a show up last winter, and that was my incentive to move out. So yeah, I've had a blast so far.
And most of your projects been here in the Bartell Theater?
Most have been. I do work at Children's Theater Madison, and I've done some work at the Overture, just helping load in and load out. But yeah, I'm doing, right after this show closes, I'm working for Children's Theater Madison summer camp. We're doing Mary Poppins Jr., so I'm the props and set designer for that.
And so how did you get into the set designing part of it? Going from being a carpenter, was that like your lead-in was the next step?
Yeah, I did. In high school, I did set crew. I did all the painting. I did a lot of acting, improv, kind of everything. And then when I got to college, I would act because they wanted, of course, men to be in their shows. But I really fell in love with design through some coursework at Swanee, where I went in Tennessee. And then slowly was helping some friends out with their shows and designing their sets. And then I worked for a while at Stage Door Manor, a performing arts center in the Catskills, and I was a carpenter there for a couple of years. And then I thought, hey, I really like designing, and I've got, the credentials to do it. So I applied to be a designer my third year there, and they brought me on as that. And so then from then on out, I've been just doing a lot of designing professionally too.
And then how did you meet Corey? Because Corey's actually how we got introduced.
So that's a whole story that's roped into how I got into the Bartell. We did our show, Orson Welles Presents an Evening with Nixon, which my roommate Finn, who's painting in the background, co-wrote and starred in. And I got looped into Strollers Theater, and they needed help with a load-in for a show last fall. I was helping them out on that. There was kind of a hectic tech week load-in thing that I ended up helping out to finish a lot of things that needed to get done. And then the producer, Leesman Marshall, got me hooked up with Corey because he runs his own set building business. So I did some work for him, painting and building for a while. And then he suggested, Savoyards needs a designer still and a painter. Would you like to design and paint? And I said, absolutely. So.
And fortunately, we had met.
Funny monologue that you read, and that was a really fun time.
It was so fun too. He said when Corey said I have somebody, the name didn't register with me because I had the script, and it was one of the things where you get a script and you read it just to see how things go. And then all of a sudden, we looked at each other. Wait a minute.
Yeah. I realized when I saw your email profile picture, I went, "Oh, he read my monologue. I hope he enjoyed it."
I did. It was really fun. It was. So, are you also pursuing writing as well?
I like writing. I haven't done anything professionally yet or written a show that's gone up, but Finn, who wrote Orson Welles, and Nathaniel, who also wrote that, we like to collaborate on projects too. So hopefully down the line we do something together. Yeah.
Cool. So let's talk a little bit about patience. So when we first met, we were talking about where it takes place.
Yeah.
And a lot of Gilbert and Sullivan, the things that they kind of needed, and we started out with just kind of talking about what we'd like to have in there, and then what was your process? Did you do research on things that looked like castles and things in that era?
Yeah, I found there's some obscure English lord whose name I can't remember. He had these sketches and of these castles that existed, but then he was changing them, and kind of some ruins of a castle, and that's where I got the inspiration for the phallic-looking doorways from his sketches. And then we had talked about we're going to have hedges that are shaped phallically too, and kind of it all ties together. But yeah, I looked at some of his work, and then we had talked about a romance novel as a unifying theme, and there's going to be a portal around the stage that looks like the spine of a romance book that you'd find not in the supermarket aisle, but from the period. Yeah.
I love the collaboration, because when we'd done the poster with that Ingrid Collective, which I just really loved, we talked about the whole fact of making it into a romance novel, because it is a love triangle.
Oh yeah.
And and the humor in Patience revolves around that.
Yeah.
So we thought, what a great way to take that theme all the way through that, and I think it's going to work out really nicely.
Absolutely.
So what's going on right now? What's happening right now in this stage of the game?
Yes. So currently we're in load-in. Platforms have been loaded in. We're currently Taylor, the managing director of the Bartell, and Finn, my roommate, producing partner, creative, everything, are painting the marble that is for the stepping stones for the garden in the show. The walls are being loaded in and installed. I have been taking a hot knife to cut the grout out to create the brickwork for the castle. And then, slowly but surely, pieces will be added. It's a process of, you get one thing installed, and then you've got to, paint some things, and it takes time. You can pre-paint, but sometimes it's easier to paint in space, so.
And a lot of times, especially with the Bartell, is you usually have to load everything in on a Saturday or a Sunday even, depending on what show leaves here. And then you have 3 days to do everything. I mean, and from putting the platforms in, building the platforms, painting the sets, doing the whole thing, getting the lights in. And usually it's such a frantic 3 days. And we got really lucky that we had nothing in here, so we could actually come in a week early to actually have the platforms at least in there, so that we're not a frantic chase to get in before we have an audience.
Definitely. Painting a floor is very time consuming, and so the fact that I could do this last weekend, get started on it, was really helpful. And the Bartell, it's very much Saturday morning, show up early with a U-Haul loaded up, get everything in. A bunch of the cast helps move the seats around if you're downstairs, and then it's kind of, you got some people to help paint and install things. But you're right, it's really quick and fast, which I, having worked at a summer camp, Stage Door Manor that I talked about, we do 14 shows in 3 weeks, and then we do that 3 times in a summer.
Oh my God.
So and they're fully realized shows, so it's long hours, but we have a ton of experience of the campers leave rehearsal, we go in, we either have to change over the set or we paint the floor, things like that. So I have a lot of experience of, it's got to be fast but also good, and such a short amount of time, and managing so many shows at once as well.
Sure. And the other times is that when you're working with other companies and you have a crew of people, you have painters, you have carpenters, you have everybody else has their own job to do. You've got a very small amount of people doing a lot of work in a very small amount of time.
Definitely. It's a lot of talking to the cast as load-in is approaching, of who can paint, who has power tools, things like that, and making all of that work. And sometimes it is a snap decision or simplifying something, but for the most part, people are talented in many different ways, not just acting. So it's great to have a community where the cast is also technicians, they're also artists, things like that. Definitely.
That's one of the things that when I was going into the high schools and talking to the high school performing arts kids, and a lot of them just think, okay, I'm just going to be an actor. I just want to sing and I want to act. I was like, you know what? You need to like work on a crew for a day.
Yeah.
You need to go backstage and paint something. You need to work on props because you need to see what happens here before the curtain goes up on opening night, because it gives you an idea of the community in the sense of like everybody has skills, and even if you don't want to make that your path, and you may, okay, I really don't want to be a lighting designer, or I don't really want to be a set builder. At least you know what that person does and how it makes you look better as an actor or an actress.
Definitely. And I, as someone in high school who started with set construction and painting, but then really just delved into acting, and I was on an improv team and all of that, I, for a while, was like, I don't know if I want to keep doing tech. But then in college, and as I've actually been in Madison doing some props design things, I never thought I would do props, but now I'm doing that for Children's Theater Madison this summer. I did it for a show, the Orson Welles show we did back in December. You kind of get these opportunities that you never thought you would want to do, and then you're like, oh, that's really cool to see, and to kind of make the magic happen, especially.
Is there anything in the genre of theater that you haven't done yet that you think you might want to try your hand at?
So I've done costume design. The one thing I haven't done is I know how to hang a light, I know how to focus a light, but I've never done lighting design. So that would be very interesting to try out. Yeah.
And that's changed so immensely
Yes.
just in the last couple of years. I mean, the old days, you have to get up on the ladder and hang the lights and change the gels and do all that. You have to have a carbon arc,
Yeah.
firing with your asbestos gloves in your hands. So like everything's now digitized, and it's all, it's all done by a computer. I mean, that's such a different style of doing things that it's a great skill to have.
Absolutely. Yeah, that would be the one thing I haven't truly dipped my feet in yet is lighting. So, yeah.
Cool. So you're going to be looking over Corey's shoulder when we do the lighting here?
That I might actually do. I might sit up with the booth and take notes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Why not? That's great. So you said the next thing you're going to do is with children's theater. Is there anything else further down the line that you have? Yes.
So I've got, Finn has written a show that Strollers, which is now going by the name, we've changed it to Madison Public Theater. He has written a show called The Untold Story of the Collier Brothers, who are these two brothers in Harlem. They were real people. They were hoarding. They're the first famous hoarders, and they had a Model T they were building in their apartment, or their brownstone. And so he's written that. I'm doing the set. We're going to have a lot of junk and fun things on stage. And then Madison Shakespeare Company is doing Blue Comet on stage here in October, so I'm also helping out with that.
Well, so you got the rest of the year pretty much mapped out.
Very much so. In November and December, I will be taking off, though.
Well, you got to have some downtime.
Yes.
Got to have a little bit, because you have to start doing all the other things. You have to write another play. You have to get your monologues done.
Yeah.
What do you get out of the experience of doing theater? What's the thing that you really enjoy or get out of doing theater?
Oh boy. I really like, the collaboration is really fun, but theater to me is very much a canvas, and with designing especially, there's always something new to try out. It's just very fun to explore all the possibilities, especially with a show that you do Sweeney Todd, you've seen all these different iterations of it. Saying like, what can I do differently is always really fun, because just seeing what's new, what's innovative, and then watching, as you said, like technology growing, especially with lighting and automation, with you see Broadway. I was seeing Hadestown last summer, and the set literally splits apart. I didn't think you could do something that cool, but yeah, seeing all of that and then saying, how could I try something like that out is always really fun. So that's what I get out of it. And then when I'm acting and on stage, it's just a lot of fun.
Yes, a true Renaissance man.
Yeah.
loves every aspect of theater. So again, we're here at the Bartell Theater, and Patience opens on August 2nd, and it runs for 2 weekends. Tickets are on sale now at the Bartell Theater box office, which you can go to their website or call their box office. It is going to be and hilarious. I guess you have to say and hilarious because the H is silent, just like the H in your last name. I'm a professional. Don't try this at home. So come and see Patience. I'm not too prejudiced because I am the stage director of the show, and you'll have a great time. The cast is marvelous. The set's going to be awesome. The costumes are beautiful. Everything about the show is going to be something you are going to want to see this summer here at the Bartell Theater with the Madison Savoyards. So thanks for stopping in today. Thank you very much,
Thank
Dylan.
you for having me.
Thank you for being our background. And thank you, Ben. Thank you, Jim. And we'll see you next time on Biz Buzz with me.